research has shown that bacon actually induces a similar response in the brain as cocaine. And so there's actually an influence of bacon on dopamine receptors that makes us literally addicted to eating it.
I'm Helena, and we're continuing our search for the future of flavor. But before we can do that, we have to figure out what flavor is. So I'm at Future Food Studio to meet Dr. Irwin, a flavor scientist. Dr. Irwin, why are people so obsessed with bacon, and why does it taste so good?
So bacon actually stimulates two of the main tastes, being umami and salt. And so our primitive brain that brought us through our evolutionary process really guided us in order to find the nutrients that we needed in order to grow into the humans we are today. So bacon has those two things that we needed, which were umami, an indication of proteins, and then salt, the electrolytes that we needed to survive. But what's really cool is over the last 5 years, research has shown that bacon actually induces a similar response in the brain as cocaine. And so there's actually an influence of bacon on dopamine receptors that makes us literally addicted to eating it.
So humans have a natural instinct to just love bacon.
Absolutely.
Can you explain to me what flavor is?
So we know that flavor is actually a combination of both taste and smell. And so you probably learned in grade school that you can experience 4 different tastes, right? Sweet, sour, bitter, and salty. We know now that it's more complex than that, and there's actually more tastes, like umami or kokumi. And that system combines with our smell in order to create flavor. So when we chew food, we actually start generating tiny aerosols, or little droplets of liquid that go up into our nasal passage. And once they hit the back of our nasal passage, they stimulate what we call the olfactory neurons. And those neurons are essentially what are responsible for differentiating the 10 to 20,000 different flavors that we as humans can experience. And what's really cool with the olfactory neurons is that they culminate within the middle of the brain in what we call the olfactory bulb. And that olfactory bulb is right next door to the memory cortex. So that's why there's such a strong association between smell, flavor, and memory, right? So you might remember your grandmother's cooking, and as soon as you smell something that's similar, it could bring you right back. But what's really cool is that it doesn't end just there. Research has been evolving and showing us that, in fact, flavor is much more than just taste and smell. It's actually a culmination of all of our senses. So we start looking at how taste and smell combine with touch, sight, and sound to actually create what we call a flavor experience. When we think about sound, for example, research has been performed that shows that higher frequency sounds are actually associated with a sweeter product. So if you had a chocolate that you took a bite of and you had a higher frequency sound happening while you're eating it, you might think that chocolate was actually sweeter. When we think about sight, we know that rounder shapes are associated with sweeter products, whereas more rectangular shapes are more bitter or sour. Similarly with colors, different colors of a food item cause what we call color anticipation, and really predispose us to experience that flavor differently. Touch, for example. If someone's holding a soft piece of cotton versus something rough like gravel, that will transform their experience around texture of a product. So they'll think, say, an ice cream is creamier if they're holding cotton. And that's really just those extrasensorial inputs that are combining together to create the flavor experience. So one of the exciting things about food is that we're realizing that flavor is much more than just the components that we've actually put into our recipe, but extends to the entire environment. And that environment completely influences our flavor experience.
Now that we're starting to understand what happens in our bodies when we taste something, where does that take us in terms of the future of flavor?
Well, really the question that we're asking now is, how do we hack flavor in order to expand our eating experience? We're going to do a play on street meat, the same way we had talked about before, that when we chew, we generate tiny aerosols and those go and stimulate the olfactory neurons. We're gonna do that directly by turning a hot dog into a flavor cloud.